Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Blast Greats. Today I have the company of the lovely Frenchman Nathan NBK, a player that you all know, a player that has been part of the scene ever since I can remember. He was a player that played Counter-Strike in Source, or a player that I competed against, one of the most prominent players that the scene has probably ever had. Today he's gonna join us for a little bit of a talk. We're gonna walk through his career, we're gonna walk through OG, we're gonna walk through his situation, we're gonna talk some French Counter-Strike, and last but not least, we're gonna walk through one of the demos of NBK where we're gonna look for some mistakes, we're gonna look for some of the stuff that he does well, and in general, just gonna have a little conversation about it. But enough about me, let's get a face on the man. Nathan, how are you doing?
Hello, can you hear me? Are we good?
I can hear you. I think the sound should be good.
Okay, hopefully. Well, anyway, you can always change it on the fly, but
we can try. Perfect. I've never been a good producer by no means, so we'll give it a go.
All good.
First and foremost, thank you so much for coming in here today.
Sure.
A pleasure to have you on board. Let's start with a little bit of an introduction about you, right? I briefly touched upon it. You played Counter-Strike Source, and you were one of the, I remember at least from when I was young, you were one of the best players in Counter-Strike Source in a very young age. At what time did you pick up Counter-Strike, and at what time did you know that was the game for you?
Damn, that's a broad question. I mean, I always played when I was younger with like my family, especially my father and my brother. It was, I don't even know what version of Minecraft Counter-Strike it was. It was like the 1.5, 1.6, I don't know, a long time ago. It was just like for fun when I was a kid, not really grinding or trying to play, just like having fun.
Yeah.
And then actually Source was a bit more serious, probably in like 2008, 2009. Around that time, I don't really have a specific date. And yeah, just started learning about the scene and the fact that there is a scene and all of that. Yeah, around end 2008, probably early 2009. And then I don't know, I just liked the game, and then I saw that I could compete because I had a good level, and so I was like, yeah, why not? We can swear on this channel, right? Yeah, we can. I mean,
yeah, you can a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, we can a little bit. Okay, I try to contain myself. But yeah, I mean, just went from there and picked it up and ran away with it.
Okay. I mean, I remember you when I was playing. I think we're roughly the same age. How old are you now? 25?
25, yeah, correct.
25,
yeah,
so 1 year older than I am. I remember back when I started my career in Source, you were already in very games. You were already one of the players that a lot of younger players looked up to. Do you remember back in Counter-Strike Source, if you try to relate it to nowadays, of course, it's incomparable, but back in the days when you were only 14, 15 years old and you were playing at one of the best teams in France, how did that feel, thinking back on it?
I mean, so I think there are two things for it. I went up to that level very, very fast, so it didn't feel like I had to grind too much. Because like I had the luck to have one of my first competitive teams that were there purely to see me explode and be in one of those top teams. So that was pretty much their goal, which was an insane, an insane chance to have that at the time. And then like in a matter of like 2-3 months, that's when I went from that team. That was pretty good. We were probably the third or fourth best team in France. Get into very games. So it was very fast. And I didn't really think twice on it. Like it was the same principle as when I was in the first team. It was just get in there and grab as many things as you can from the experience of the people around, and then play as good as I could. Right, like follow what people are telling me because they know better than I do. Learn from them, headshot people, and that was pretty much it. And like again, like I had the luck to be surrounded by Existence mainly. That he's such a hard worker that he was putting every stone in a road in front of me, and like he was just setting me up every time and doing things so that I can just like focus on headshotting people.
Okay.
And Niak in the management side, and there was Regnam. I mean, all the old school names that were around, but like those guys really helped me to create the way I was seeing Counter-Strike, and that basis is still there right now, and it's something that it's still exploring today.
So basically, what I'm hearing you saying is that the fact that you got to play with Existence in such a young age is still something you can relate back to till this day, right? There's still some of the stuff that he taught you when you were very young is still some of the same principles you practice now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, how can I? Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. I'm trying to put it in
No
the right
rush.
way. It's just I search more about the approach and how people envision something and the philosophy they have coming into the game, coming into even life in general,
Okay.
and try to grab the principles that relate to me and that I can understand very easily and I can grab very easily, and then instantly just incorporate it in the way I am and the way I approach things and everything. And so, because I didn't know better, because I only had one team before Very Games, doing what naturally all of the other guys were doing, so like Existence, Niak, Ragnam, and all of that, was natural for me to just follow in that footstep and do the same, pretty much. So that was fairly easy in the sense that I had the best environment around me to do that, and I just had to go forward with it, and that's pretty much what happened. So yeah, being around those guys formed the way that I was going to be as a player for the next 10 years and even now.
Okay, it totally makes sense. Would you say that because it's right, like you're playing in video games for, I believe, 4 years maybe?
4 years and a half, I think.
4 years and a half years. So you never really had to jump from team to team. So I guess you're pretty set in your own ways. The first time you had to move outside of video games, would you say that was a big challenge for you because of the same reasons, or was it that was it easier for you because you had a home for that long that you're trying to use those principles on your own?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, there was a whole stretch that was like Very Games Titan. So it was, but it was like the same core of persons.
Sure.
And then the first big change was going from there to LDLC. And it was with Happy Shocks and all of that. And so the main reason why I wanted to change is that I thought that we needed a different approach in order to be good again and to bring a team back to the top level and to win tournaments. And so that was the only reason. So Existence, Niak, they were like still in their way, and I felt like I needed a change for me to perform better and for just us as a team to perform better and to win. So that was the main reason why I changed. And when it comes down to this, like what the mistakes are in the team and what the primes are, I have a pretty good feeling about that. So I realized that, yeah, why not change at that time? It makes sense and to move forward because big changes were happening, the famous older French shuffles. And so creating the new things in the team, the same core principles like hard work, always putting everyone around to be in the same direction and all of that, those principles were kept always.
Sure.
So like the more direct approach to the game was not the same. Obviously, it was obviously different.
Yeah, it makes sense. You are touching a little bit upon it. State of French Counter-Strike, because I remember back again in Counter-Strike Source, Very Games was the best team in the world, and you guys, you like sort of like our NIP in the CSGO era, I guess, where everyone was just looking towards Very Games. That was the unbeatable team. You had to do really, really good if you wanted to make it a competitive game. Now, French Counter-Strike has always been strong, and you've of course won majors and you've been part of the top scene, but I think it's safe to say that as of lately, something is not going as well as it used to be. Is there anything you can put a finger on within the French Counter-Strike scene? Is it a cultural problem? Is it a generation switch? What is going on right now within the French Counter-Strike scene that makes them, like, it's not that you guys are bad by no means, but you're not Denmark, you're not Sweden, you're not up there anymore. Like, what is it you're missing right now?
Yeah, I think we had a stretch that was a bit rough at the end of Envy. Like, I think the two rough parts are like at the end of Envy, where and even G2 partially, like the dream team that we had didn't perform as well as we needed to, or that we wanted to. And it comes down a lot to two things that are going to be a bit contradictory from one another, but still go together. So trust and going in the same direction always as a team. We often had different visions. And the problem is we couldn't always make him work. Whoever it was, I was responsible at some time, other people were responsible at some times. It was just a mix of little things that were happening always.
Sure.
So this, and the second part would be adaptability, where again we have like those views, and by being more adaptive to one another, whether it is on a human level, on an understanding level, communication level, then if we had more of that, we could have been much better in sense of moving forward and being better as a group. And I think it's something that is very, very understood right now, and that people became really better on.
Okay.
But the problem for French Counter-Strike at the moment is that Vitality was doing good and they were like among the top teams, and Alex just left. And like Vitality was doing good. We were doing good when I was on the roster. We were like a very solid top 5 team.
Sure.
And they were like a top 5A team when there was Sharks that joined. And so they were doing good. And the thing is, yeah, Alex left. I think that's like the last real slap in the face for the French team, because there were good elements. Things were looking up, and now things change again for a reason or another. So again, that lack of stability in the moving forward in the same direction all the time is something that hurt the scene constantly.
Sure, and I could see that trails back to like not necessarily a cultural problem, right? But the fact that you guys are not aligning yourself for the same goal. You touched a little bit upon it as well, talking about this G2 super team you had. Because I remember when you formed that team, you know, the perception of it was that is a strong team. That is gonna be one of the best teams in the world. Some of the best players at this, you know, at the current moment was playing together. You said it a little bit yourself. You weren't really having the same visions. You weren't really agreeing on how to get to the end goal, which was to be the best team in the world. Can you maybe try to elaborate a little bit on it? You know, what exactly was it that you guys were missing? Was it a dedicated leader on the team, or was it something else?
I mean, there were different visions throughout the team from what I can remember. I think we sometimes had the same vision and we agreed on how to play Counter-Strike and how to approach, how to practice and all of that for fewer periods than where we were not agreeing on the team. So and those moments always led to trophies, victories, right?
Well, that's what I heard, right? Because you won a lot of trophies just before the point you're about to break up.
Yeah, I mean, in French team, notoriously, like we were thinking about splitting up before winning our first major. We were thinking the same about the second major. So like there's a lot of weird shit in the French scene. But ultimately for G2, I think we always try to work going in the same direction because of all the elements that we had together that were probably at the time we had. I mean, if you look now, we had in that team the 4 biggest French player of all time, probably.
Sure.
Apex, Kenny, Sharks, and me, and Buddy was like kind of a newcomer that was being set up. And yet we didn't convert, making it into like a very dominant top team. While we had like some tournaments where we played almost flawless. For example, the DreamHack Masters Malmö.
Yeah.
Like we played insanely well at that tournament, and we were all like, yes, we found the way we want to play Counter-Strike. And then a week or two after, he was like, no, we cannot keep on playing like this because we can't do it. So it was just like, you know, always those things that were like accumulating when we think that we found the direction that we wanted to take. And then because of discomfort or because it seemed impossible for some, then things just stopped dead. And then we had to change the whole approach again. And then obviously it cannot work like this because once you have the right approach, generally you want to move forward and just do that. So yeah, to me, it's been a constant problem in the French scene, and G2 we had like an insane roster, and we didn't convert because of that mainly. Like we were changing constantly after wins or losses, and we couldn't keep the thing that was making us good and just again grab it and run with it and keep on being dominant. Sure. Which is a thing like other teams like NIP, for example, when I had their 87-0, they just like played one way and then just kept playing like that constantly, and they never changed. Astralis, when they were the best team in the world dominating, sure, they had like a lot of good things that were very smart, but they had one direction and always followed it. And it's one thing that French teams never had, except with Envy, with Happy that has his own vision, and it worked well. Like we were very good for quite a long time. It just didn't work out in the end anymore because people figured us out, and then we couldn't change, and then things had to break up. But yeah, it sums it up pretty much.
Yeah, it does, right? And it's super interesting because I think there'll be a lot of fans out there sitting right now and thinking to themselves, did I hear that correctly? Every single time you guys won a major, every single time you guys were winning tournaments, because I remember talking to Kenny after you won in Malmö, I believe that like had you not won that tournament, had you bowed out in the group stage or just finished 5th to 8th or something like that, that probably would have been the death of that team. And then all of a sudden you turn up and you play some of the best Counter-Strike we ever saw from you. What can you try to explain why that? Like, is it just a French thing that you can just play with no pressure and that's when you're good, or is it more just pure luck? I guess.
Maybe it's something that is subconscious where like, yeah, nothing to lose, let's play our best version of Counter-Strike. Because that's something though with the French teams that very often when we're playing the official games and coming to the LAN tournaments, no matter what happens, we're going to be competitive and we're going to be here to play and to destroy people, right? We might not have the best approach to it or whatever, but we're going to be here to destroy. And so that's something that has always been very good in our teams. Now, when it comes to every tournament, it's always like Malmo was a bit different because the lack of motivation came from someone specifically in the team that almost wanted to stop Counter-Strike at that point. And we won the tournament, and the motivation came back, and then we kept with the team. Okay. So that helped. So yeah, sure, the team would have changed probably after that, but yeah, I guess it's also fighting on purpose sometimes. That it's just like, it's our last shot as a team, let's win the major, for example. Like it's sort of that mentality. So I don't know exactly what it's related to in terms of in psychology or whatever. Okay. But having that goal as a last shot pretty much, and then it keeps on going, most surely helped us. And then when it comes down to why this happened, I guess it's just a matter of a lot of the personalities we had in the teams and the fact that I think, for example, with Zonic, I'm not an expert in what he does and all of that, but I can imagine him bumping people on the head if they start deviating too much from the original system, in the sense that if you have like practice schedule or rhythm and all of that, well, he's going to be here to remind you that and just to keep you like in the same drive, in the same direction. While in France, we always had very friendly coaches and people that we loved and all of that. But not necessarily people that were steering the direction and really rallying the troops to make it work. And like I can count it with like Momen was one of those, and then Smith wasn't really like he was trying to help. Like again, like I don't want to talk shit about those people, but like they were not like the main leader of the boat that is like we're all going to that direction and you just don't deviate, you just stay in it. And so I think that's also one thing that could have helped a lot the French teams at those times, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, sure, and by all means, feel totally free to be completely honest. I don't think there's no reason to hide too much. Would it be fair to say that the way I'm listening into this is the French scene lacked, as you said, you lacked a leadership figure, right? You lacked a Sonic type of coach. You lacked a figure within the scene that was able to steer the boat, sort of. Was it lack of maturity, or was it more like because we're from Denmark, of course, or I'm from Denmark, and our scene has always looked at the French scene as you guys were super connected, like you're great friends. You look towards Apex and Kenyes, they were best friends, right? They were unattachable. You look towards Smiths and Shocks, they were like good friends and stuff. That's always what we were thinking about, that French Counter-Strike seems to be much more friendly and maybe a little bit less serious than Danish Counter-Strike. Would that be fair to say, or was it just, a coincidence that we only heard the stories about you guys being good friends?
There were a lot of good friendships in the French scene, obviously. I mean, that you can obviously not deny that. Now, whether it helps the scene or it harms it, I can't really say for sure. Okay. Because there are examples of everything. But when it's at its high, it obviously helps because you have people that are here ready to die for one another in a server, right? Yeah. And so it obviously helps a lot into being the best team possible. When it comes down to maturity, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think the scene as a whole maybe lacks of some in terms of acceptance, like accepting the fact that people are around us are different, and there are some things that cross the line. And so obviously you cannot go over that, but you can. There's a French expression. It's like put water in your wine. So like you have to mix your own feelings and you cannot be overcritical over people that you don't necessarily understand, right? Like if they're working away, then you just accept it. Sure. And so it's something that has been missing probably in the French scene, me included, and overall, that made us not see things the same way, and ultimately sometimes breaking up teams because of that, regardless of how good or bad the team was. Just those different visions and the fact that we're not accepting really harmed us, that's for sure. But then in terms of friendship, all the best teams that we had in France had very good friendships in it. At least two persons that were like best mates almost. So like with very games, it was like Existence and Niak. In G2 it was Shucks and Smith. In Envy it was Apex and Kenny, and like all those duos really gave like always good dynamic to a team, and like had the extra edge that made us even better.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I think we could be sitting and talking about French Counter-Strike from now on until till New Year's Eve. It's a very interesting study. A lot of you guys have obviously made it. You've won a few majors and won some big tournaments. So it wouldn't be fair saying that you've won a lot of things. It wouldn't be fair to say that you haven't had success, but it's always been a case of as you said, you haven't been consistent with the success. We've never seen you guys as the Astralis, who for a year dominated. Maybe Envious is a case to be made there. But
as close as it gets.
Yeah.
As it gets, but yeah.
But
even then.
Yeah, it was a little bit, unstable, and as you said, it was with one style only and nothing else. Moving away from French Counter-Strike, basically exactly as you did, you decided not to be part of the French Counter-Strike scene anymore. I guess that was an active choice of yours ever since not being part of Vitality. Why did you come to that conclusion? I think you talked a little bit about it already, but was it just time for you to try something new, or was it more the thought of an international lineup that really, was interesting to you?
So, actually, I wanted to leave the French Counter-Strike scene a year prior to that. Okay. Before Vitality was formed, I actually wanted to. I didn't have any plan for a French team in mind.
Okay.
But when the project came up, Vitality, French organization, being able to grab Zaiwu and then making something out of it, then I just went with it because it seemed logical.
Sure.
But then now. With the other Vitality.
Do you regret that? Do you regret you went with the logical decision instead of going for it?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Okay. I think what we did with Vitality was something that very few teams have done, if any. In the time we rose in the ranking and qualified to everything. So no regrets at all.
Okay.
The end of Vitality is something different, but no regrets having that decision. And now coming into creating this roster, it was at crazy amount of work in terms of like finding the organization, the right players, pieces that were moving constantly. So it was like real chaos for like 2.5 months, something like that. And ultimately we went with the decision that seemed the most competitive to us in terms of organization and players in the roster. And very happy about how we landed on our feet, all of us, because we all took a gamble, and it's not really a team of misfits together. It's just a team of people that wanted to go into something new and create something new with an organization that is new to Counter-Strike, and create our own path and show that we can make it. We don't need help with nobody, and it's just a matter of give us a bit of time, and we're going to prove that we can do it.
But I guess you showed that with Vitality, as you said. You talked about it, the fact that you started from the bottom, right? You weren't invited for any tournaments. You had to grind your way through qualifiers. I don't think anyone has ever done that, at least not to the same success as you guys did, because I believe at one point you were ranked number 2 or number 3 in the world after basically ranking all the way up, right? So that is super impressive. Do you think that OG, as of right now, the lineup you have right now, do you see some similarities in the way you're slowly but surely getting better, slowly but surely grinding your way up? Because it's somewhat the same path you're taking right now. You're starting from nowhere, and you have to grind you all the way back into the top scene. Of course, you're getting invites to some of the good tournaments. You're playing Pro League, for an example. That's always nice. But
yeah, sure.
But do you feel that you're watching some of the same things, some of the same things happening right now as you did in Vitality as well?
Truthfully, not really.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. With Vitality, we had 100% success rate in everything we did, pretty much like from the get-go.
Okay.
We qualified to everything instantly. The first line tournament we played, we won it. So basically, like everything was working perfect, and like we had elements that were different. We had a base that was different in the sense that the vision that we had when creating it was very straight to the point, because I was taking care of it for the most part, and like everyone was really biting into it, and I think the elements were perfect in the way that we knew everyone and how to use them already. So we had a very good head start into that.
Sure.
With OG, it was a matter of 5 persons that see Counter-Strike 5 different ways, with 5 different teams that all had leadership in their team at some point.
Yeah.
That are all vocal, all of that. So there's like, you already like take a bunch of people that have like their minds full and like come from different paths, and so you have to create all of that and to put everything together. So that's where it's very different. It's going to take with OG much more time to do what we did with Vitality and all of that grind, even though we're like halfway into it. To consistently do the same things and to be performing at a good level consistently. Because again, the fact that we have all those different backgrounds, that we didn't really know each other, like we never played with one another before creating this roster. We didn't have any trial period. We didn't have any test playing together. We didn't have any lengthy conversation. Like the most was between Alexi and me. That was it. Like that was the only baseline that we had. Like we know we're 5 players. We watch demos of one another, and that's it.
Okay.
So from there, you have to create everything. And so the direction of our team shifted already, like sometimes because of X or Y reasons. And like we're still changing positions at this point. We're still like doing different things because we're still not sure about everything that we're creating. So now we're finding a pace that is very good for us. I'm very happy with the pace of the team and the average level that we have and everything. So it took us, we're in April right now. It took us like five months or something to find that, and to find that stability of okay, now we understand Counter-Strike more or less the same way. We still have some fuck-ups here and there.
Sure.
But we have a good direction, we have the path, and now we just have to polish it 100%.
Okay.
So yeah, 5 months just to find what we had already at the beginning of Vitality, for example. So it's what we're developing, and now we're getting into that phase where finally we're fighting against top dogs, and we're actually competitive against them, and we even take them, some of them.
Yeah, and I think that's
so
what's
we need to do that.
That's what's been super impressive about you guys, that you haven't had too many wins against the best of the best teams, but every game you play, you seem to be competitive. Like you're never getting 16-0 or 16-5. You know, you always seem to be part of the games, and you always sit back with a feeling that you could have won it. You know, if you just did X, Y, and Z better. Must be nice for the players as well on the team. Without getting too much into it, of course, you said it a little bit yourself. The plans of this lineup and who was supposed to join the lineup, there was obviously some rumors and some circulations around it. How happy are you with the players that you got? You know, we know Mantu is a great example. He was not supposed to be the guy, right? But when you look towards him, how he's performing right now, I assume you, OG as an organization, and also Roca as a coach, must be pretty satisfied with how it turned out after all.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of rumors, obviously, and a lot of things that happened. Some were not only rumors. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you want to speak about Mantu, to me, I just watched, like, I don't know, 2 demos of him.
Sure.
And I was like, this is the guy, I don't want anybody else, pretty much.
Okay.
So he came, so first he got suggested, because I didn't really know him, by NKJ from, that is now in Pro.
Okay.
He was like, check that dude. I was coaching him. He's great on so many levels, and I was like, I mean, cool. I'll check him. And I was like a bit hesitant because he's playing like second up, and he was like second upper in attacks, and I was like, okay, I'll just check it out.
Sure.
And then I saw him, and then I just looked at 2 demos of him, and I was like, yeah, he's a main upper. Like he's a main upper, no question about this. And he plays amazingly well. I'm 100% sure about that. And then I just spoke with NK, I spoke with Mantu, Alexi spoke with Mantu, and just by speaking with him, again, like I didn't search about specifics in the game and what he was doing good, was he fast with flicking people or reaction time or whatever, like I don't really care about that, but just because of his background, who he is as a person, the way he approaches Counter-Strike, the ecos I got from other people, I was convinced, I was 100% sure that he was going to be an amazing player, an amazing operator, and that especially he was going to fit into a system that we want to create, and that he was going to be able to incorporate a lot of information and then a lot of things that we had to tell him for a team game or to play against X or Y team.
Sure.
So it was a lot of his cerebral capacity that impressed me, and that really made me say, this guy 100%.
Okay. Because I think it's a beautiful story, right? When you think about it, he was not your first choice of AWP, and that's fair enough to say. But the way he's been playing ever since he's been part of this lineup has been stellar, right? I think he's one of your best performers, and I think he's doing a good job with AWP. You're describing him a little bit already, but would you say, like, the thing I always come to think about when I think about new players who are emerging into the scene, how good does he communicate? How good is he as a teammate? You know, is he a team player, or is he still slowly but surely learning? How far is he in that process?
I think there's one thing that helps him and doesn't help him, but it helps us as a team for sure, is that he was an entry fragger on the T side in attacks for a long time. So when the guy takes an AK, he just storm into a side and destroy everyone. So like it's a very good thing. Yeah. It also makes him a bit more aggressive with the up, but again, it's completely okay because of the good things that he gets. through his aggression, it's obviously compensated 100% for when he dies with by being too aggressive, for example.
Sure.
When it comes to a teammate, I think we can't really ask for anybody better, honestly. Then to be a bit more with his specification, with communication. It can obviously be better. I think it's the case for the whole team. I think we still lack in several departments of communication, and it's something that we're trying to improve on. But it's something that is the way it is. It's impossible to just change it from one day to another.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, he's doing his part. He's not incredible at it. He's not horrible at it. But there's still some keys information and stuff like that he has to do better. And I think it's a lot about the lack still of experience, because the guy has been playing at the top level now for the actual top level for like 2 or 3 months, and he joined our team like 5 months ago when we created it. So the guy has still a ton to learn and to offer. But I mean, obviously, I think it's very straightforward what you see on the server. The guy is insanely talented.
What's the skill ceiling of Manso? Like, how good can he be? I think it'd be fair to say that he's probably not the new Kenny S that is going to take over the world. But when you look at him, what is his potential? Like, can he be one of the best AWP players in the world, or can he be one of the most stable AWP players? Or what should we as fans and analysts and experts expect from Manso coming into the future?
I think as an upper, I think he compares quite a lot to Guardian.
Okay.
From what I can see, Guardian when he was at his highest level, where he can do both. Like, he can be very aggressive and like get those entry peaks, and he's also getting more and more comfortable holding angles and then just punishing people.
Okay.
Because again, he's a very small player, and he can find those things, those little peaks by just being passive, like device style, pretty much.
Okay.
Where he's set up and he can get those easier frags. So. Yeah, I think to compare it to someone, I think it would probably be Guardian at his peak. Is probably where Manto can be at the end of the day, and what I'm expecting him to be, because he's very good, but I want him to be the best, and so yeah, like comparing to all the uppers, I think he's more aggressive than Device, for example. Kenny nowadays is a very different player than he was before.
Sure.
So yeah, I think he looks more like Guardian at his prime and Kenny of nowadays, not like the Kenny that was hyper aggro, but the Kenny nowadays that is more passive, that knows how to punish people and all of that.
Okay, that's to me that's super interesting, right? Because as I said, when you see OG play Counter-Strike, it seems like he's really finding his footing. He's getting better, and he's delivering some great games in a pretty early stage of his career. Now, talking about yourself, you've been through a lot, because we already talked a little bit about it in Counter-Strike Source. You were the youngster, the great aimer, the guy who was just running around killing everyone. Then you turned into an in-game leader.
A decade ago.
A decade ago. You still got a little bit back of it. You turned into an in-game leader. You're then not in-game leading. You're then in-game leading. You're now part of this OG lineup. It's been quite a turbulent career, dare I say it, right? You found success basically everywhere you walked, I'd say. If you look at your track record, there hasn't been a lot of teams where you haven't been successful. What is it, and I know this is a very tough question, but what is it that you do so well? What is it you do so well that everywhere you go, you find success? What are some of your strongest qualities to I'd say define you as a player in this world of Counter-Strike?
I think there are two parts. When it comes down to the game itself, I think adaptability is probably my strongest trait. Mm-hmm. Where I can play any position, I can play any role, I can do anything, and I will do it to a good level. Mm-hmm. When people are not comfortable in some positions, I'm generally the one that is being moved around, because I don't really care what I play. I just do it, and I try to exploit it as good as possible. Okay. And it's something that is happening with OG, for example. Mm-hmm. And especially now, I'm being more in a part when I'm more active in the game, especially on the city side. So like, because my communication is probably one of my strongest part as well. Like I communicate very well around me, and like I can make sure that everybody understands what is happening in the game, and try to be very precise with it. Mm-hmm. And I think those are the main things for me as to why I've been always impactful as a player in a team. And my work ethic, I guess, that is just like I just work, like I just don't stop. I just work. So there's a part for the in-game stuff. For the outside of the game, again, I think it's just very narrowed down to 2 or 3 points. That is problem solving. Yeah. So problem finding and solving. So like why are we not playing good? What are the problems? Are there deep problems within the team, or is it just a superficial problem that we can fix by changing a position or changing something? And so I've been very, very good at identifying. I don't know how you pronounce it in English, but
perfect, yeah.
at seeing those problems and basically troubleshooting them. And in my mind, like, because of the experience, I don't know, like, I can't really explain it, but like, I know where the root of the problem is for the most part. And then once you identify the problem directly, then it's very easy to make a fix for it, because then you know, do you absolutely need to change a player? Do you need to work on some specific things? Do you need to this or that, whatever it is? And so that problem solving has been very useful for a lot of teams, and like giving a direction as well that is tied to the second point, helping to give the direction in the team and not being complacent, because a lot of things that a lot of teams get good and then they go a bit worse, but like, to me, it was just nice. We won a tournament. Cool. What is the next? Let's go. Like, let's get to it.
Always the second goal. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like, to me, it's just winning a tournament doesn't fucking matter. I want to win 10 of them. I want to be on top of all the leaderboards of everything. Right. That's my motivation. I don't want to be the greatest in France. I don't want to be the greatest in my team. No, fuck this shit. I want to be the greatest of all time in terms of winning tournaments and all of that. So that's my aspiration, right? So to do that, you need to grab the whole team, because it's not a solo game. So you need to grab the whole team, put it in a bag, and then just like drag them and then make them work as well, you know, following the path. So that motivation and that confidence that I show in the term of, yeah, fuck it, just go into the next tournament and win it. And it's not that complicated. It's Counter-Strike. You shoot heads, you do the strats properly, then you win. Like, it's easy. And so that package, I think, of me forcing the team and the players to like, let's work, let's do the things, and just the sheer confidence that comes out of it, I think just also help the teams always to be like, you know, it's sort of a metric. Like, if I'm happy and confident in everything that we're doing, then I think the team will feel very happy and confident.
Okay.
Well, if I look a bit more shaky, or if I feel and like state things in a team, then I think the whole team is going to start to shake a bit, because I'm generally the I will know more or less where the team is standing. And so when I have confidence, then the whole team is probably going to be full of confidence, and then winning, period. So it's a burden and it's a good thing at the same time. It's like it's a good thing to help, but it can also really be a problem for the team if people are very sensitive, or if I'm just being a dick about it.
Sure, because it does sound like you're taking I think it'd be fair to say you're taking a lot of responsibility on your shoulders in order to make, as you said, like you're taking the entire team and you're trying to drag them in one direction. And I can only imagine from my my previous experience as well as a player that it can be very tough to get 5 players and a coach to look at a goal, you know, and get to there in the same direction. It's probably one of the toughest tasks you can ask for Counter-Strike players. Now, looking back at your career, because I was trying to touching upon it a little bit. You've been everything, right? You've been the star player, you've been the in-game leader, you've been the supportive element of the teams. You've been basically everything. You're very, as you said, you're very mobile in the way you play as well. When you look back at your career right now, do you regret that you didn't pursue a career as more like a star player? Because when I think of you in Counter-Strike Source, for example, you were one of the most talented players that game has probably ever had. And I think that's fair to say. When you look at CSGO in the beginning, you I wouldn't say you were at the same level, but you were always good, and you probably could have gone back to that Counter-Strike Source level at some point.
Sure.
You must have made a decision sometime in your career that it was not good enough just to be the good player and lose. You wanted to be the better teammate, I guess, you know, and do everything enabled to win. Do you regret that decision at any point, or have you been on any lineups where that comes up to mind where you think probably I should have taken a more aggressive role, probably I should have said I want to be in this position so I can go fragging, so I can make sure we win? Because I could imagine as a player it's a tough decision to make, but also you must be sitting back with some bad experience in a sense where there was another dude in your lineup who probably didn't do it as well as you did, or could have done. Anything comes up to mind?
I think there are several points to that. I think the last point you brought is very fair, where I'm like, I can do that much better than this guy in a supportive position. So fuck it, I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna headshot people, and then just like do the openings, and I'm gonna just collect the things because I know had to do that. But
if you felt that, were you strong enough to say, listen up, dude, I'm gonna do this, you're gonna adapt, or were you always the guy who was saying, you know what, don't worry about it, I'll take the supportive element, I'll be the good guy sort of?
No, in my career it's been pretty natural. I think one of the biggest change was just at the very beginning of Source, one day to another, I just said to Existence, yeah, I don't want to up anymore, which is probably a pretty dumb decision because the uppers were like the superstars and all of that. But I mean, ultimately, throughout my career, like the stardom and all that kind of shit, it doesn't matter to me at all. This is nothing that ever was an appeal to me. So no, on that front, no regrets at all. In terms of efficiency, I think I could have in some teams maybe taken a more space in a team in terms of helping create the game and being just more proactive and being used a bit better and not being fully supportive. Maybe like it's been a long time, so I don't know anything anymore. Sure. But there surely has been some ways, and like especially now coming back into OG and changing some positions, being in a much more proactive. So being entry fragging for the team, and on the city side now have much more active zones where I have more impact on the game. Feels better for me as a player now. I feel that's where I need to be right now, and stop being in a very supportive part where it's just like doing the same things over and over again. With the experience I have, I want to exploit it and to be able to exploit the opponent as well because of that. So I'm much happier where I'm right now as a team. For example, like in Vitality, even though it was a bit different with the double AGLing, now that I'm completely off of everything, being able to use my experience and impact the game by my decisions directly, and to being able to outplay people or create space for my teammates is very pleasant for me, because I'm like, I had impact. Yes, I did something. Yeah, it is great. So yeah, I mean, I don't regret any of it a single bit, changing roles and all of that, because I think I always did it for the right reasons. I've never been forced, and they wanted to take anything away from anybody, and people were doing it very properly, right? When you have when you have players that are just able to do all of those things, even though it's not perfect and I could do it better or whatever, we gain much more as a team. For me to be able to do the other role supportive very well, and the others do their role very well, and so it creates a much better balance in the team than just being happy for myself. And ultimately, I just want to win as a team. Like individual rewards, they're very flattering, but they're not interesting to me. It's like I just want to win trophies and then be on the leaderboards and all of that. It's everything that matters.
That's fair enough. And the reason why I'm asking is that like I could imagine you must have been in positions during your career where, as you said, you felt that I could have done more, I could have done it differently. And as you said, that doesn't mean necessarily you're regretting anything, because you did it out of the right reasons. When you made the decision, you took sort of, you did it because you thought that was the best thing to do. But I guess all of our careers, when we look back at them, there was stuff that we could have done better, or stuff we could have been optimizing. Sure. You have a lot of experience. We already talked about it. Now, one final question about OG before we head into the demo that we have to watch, where we're gonna deep dive into your brain. OG right now is a team that at least my personal perception of it is that you guys are close to the top 10. You're not quite there yet, on a consistent basis, but you're definitely making all the games you're playing. They're very competitive. You're playing against some of the best teams in the world. I think you're showing in Pro League was super good. There you go, nice little cat. Yeah, having a good time. Yeah. Your Pro League showing was super good. When we look at 2020, and when 2020 is over, and I know it's a rough question because we don't really know where 2020 is heading, given all the circumstances, what would be okay to you? Where would OG be on the leaderboard, to use one of your own words, for you to be satisfied? Is it top 5? Is it top 10? Is it a tournament win? What is enough for you to say that this project so far is good enough?
Yeah, I think there are two parts for it. Ultimately, I want to win a trophy for sure, like a big trophy, like a major trophy, not a major itself, but like a major trophy of a major tournament. I want to take one before the end of 2020 to show that we're definitely on the right path, and we actually have winning potential and not just top 5 potential and playoff potential. Okay. To me, that's very important, because there are really differences between winning a tournament, an actual big tournament, and just placing good in it. So I want to see the proof that we can make it, we can go over that edge, and have that fuck it attitude where it's like, yeah, let's just win it.
Okay.
So today is that. Then in terms of ranking, I want us to be in top 10. I think. To be fair, I think if you look at the top 10 right now, and the teams we're beating and all of that, to be honest, I think at this point we're in it.
Okay.
We're not like top 5 or something, but I think
Sure.
we're like 9th, 10th.
Okay.
I think in terms of actual level that we can produce. And because of all the online games, obviously the rankings are not going to be shifted too much. So,
Sure.
so it's a bit sucky for us because we want to grind, and it's good to have that thing where it shows that you're in there. So sadly, we don't have that. But ultimately the team feels good in terms of grinding and we are beating top team consistently. That we qualify to the tournaments. That we can be invited straight to tournaments and not having to go through the qualifiers and all of that. Then for us, it's already a good sign that we have made it to a certain degree. And then by the end of 2020, it's hard to say, but I can imagine very easily what would be satisfying would be for us to be, right top 8, like being in the top 8 and having won like a major big tournament would show that we're definitely 100% on the right path, and we have the team and we have everything to make it. And so those would be the actual value things, if you will, for us to be there.
And that makes sense. From my perspective, I think that's where it's realistic to be as well. There's a lot of good teams out there. A lot of teams, of course, are trying the same as you are to get up there and be one of the best. So being part of the top 8, being part of the top 7, top 6 in Counter-Strike, I think that's incredible hard, especially if you want to do it consistently. So if you could see yourself in 2020 be up there, I think you would have done more than a lot of people are expecting from you guys. Because again, when you look at the lineup, it is, you said it yourself, it's not necessarily a lineup filled with misfits, but it's a lineup filled with players who have shown the potential at one point in their career, but now is trying to sort of like find it again and find the rhythm. And that's why, to me, it's a super interesting project. I sense that you are super, super happy about it. I sense that you're in a good spot right now. It seems to me that you're actually believing in this project, because I remember I've been talking to you before where you've been part of some of the French lineup, and you can sort of like sense on people when, maybe it's not going too well. It seems to me that you're super, super happy with where you're at right now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, sure. There are two things, what I'm happy about is the way that we're performing without anybody popping off. To me, it's a good sign of the team, and the fact that we're working good as a roster and as a unit, and that we're going in the right direction.
Sure.
When everybody is going to be very comfortable with the system, that everybody is going to be in the right places, then people are going to start popping off and winning games on their own and overtaking them. And that's the exact mix that you need in order to be a top 5, top 3 team and winning those tournaments. So we're not there yet. We're not at that exact degree yet, but still, we show it sometimes. Like some players are like destroying people in some games, and it helps us win. But what's important is that as a team, we're doing a lot of things right in a lot of official games. And so to me, that's this plus the fact that we have adaptability, that we're open to one another, to try new things, to change positions, and to know that we're, even though we have the same direction and one direction, we can still move and adapt some things, right? And to me, that's very important to see that everybody is open to that. And it shows that we're working in the right direction. We also have the support of OG with Seb, especially from the OG side, that has been involved a lot in the project, a bit less lately online, but he was there to really show that he has 100% faith, giving us some keys, some things for us to be better. And so again, like, we have a whole dynamic and structure within the roster that makes us go upwards, and we're not really stagnating. And if we take a step backwards, it's to take 2 steps forwards. And so it's anything that matters. As long as we keep on progressing, that everybody is comfortable in their own element, in their role, and everything we're doing, then it's hard to see the limit, because we have players that have all won big tournaments, except Isa and Mantu maybe. But everybody is able to like turn off the brain, be like in a sort of fuck it mode, and then headshot people regardless of the stage of the tournament who we play against and whatever. I mean, if you think about it, Mantu played all those teams for the first time, like all the Astradises, Navi, and all of that. I think he probably never played them before in big game times, and he wasn't shy of like, yeah, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pick simple, whatever. It was the problem, and all of that. So it just shows good attitude and a good trajectory for the whole team.
It's a healthy sign for sure. One last question before we head into the demo. Sure. Now that you had a taste of playing on an international lineup,
yeah.
I guess it's a big experience for you, and I guess it's adding even more to your repertoire. The fact that you've been a part of the Counter-Strike scene for as long as I can remember, 12, 14 years, whatever. Could you go back to the French scene now, or do you think that you find your spot? Do you think that your career, if you look towards, let's say, 2-3 years out in the future, are you still gonna be on an international team, or are you gonna go back to France? Could you go back?
Yeah, I could. I think I don't see a lot of reasons why I couldn't go there, because we still have, again, it really depends on the teams and the person around, because now again, like, I've broadened my horizon of things that are happening in Counter-Strike by being in an international team. So like I had the full complete circle of like the French roster and the good and the bad things, and now I'm discovering like new things within this international roster with different personalities, mindset, and all of that. And so it would even be better to go back in the French scene to like bring another direction and ideas, right? It would be good.
Sure.
However, the balance that we have in an international roster, and to me that is something that is very important, is that you're close enough to be, how can I say that? It's not really a business relationship, because we all really like each other, and I think it can be seen from all the interviews and all of that.
Sure.
So we have a great bond with one another, but we know that if we created a roster, it's not just because we were friends initially and then we're going on the server and then whatever. It's like we're here for performance, number one.
Okay.
And we're here to win, period. If we made that team, it's for that reason. And from there, it's like everyone is already on the same boat, where we know where we're standing and why we're doing that together. And it also makes us distant enough from one another, as in terms of friendship and knowing one another, that you cannot have big breaches between players that cannot be solved, in the sense that I don't know what to say, but like this guy has slept with this guy's girlfriend and in the past, or whatever. It could be like a
classic,
Yeah. and it's like, yeah, I don't want to play with this guy because of this, or I have a bad relationship and I would never trust him, or whatever. Like those things don't really exist, right? Like it would exist maybe down the line in like 15 years when international teams are going to be the standard.
Sure.
But at this point of time, it's just everything has a lot of pure good energy and a good direction, and I think that's what is very, very important about this roster. And what I really like about it is just, yeah, it feels good to be there. Everyone wants to progress, everyone is open, and we're getting better day by day, and it's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's important.
It sounds good, and I can definitely follow you on that one. There is of course a lot of history in between the players, so it must be, as you kind of alluded to as well, the fact that it's a set of fresh air for you, new teammates, people you don't know, people you have to learn, and as you said as well, different cultures meshing together. People from got Issa from Jordan, if I'm not mistaken. You got a UK player, Valde from Denmark. Now you being French, there's people from all over the world, and it must be a very interesting lineup and very interesting project to be part of. Super happy on your behalf that you're feeling well about it. Let's jump into the game, because we have watched you play a lot, especially in Pro League. And the game I want to take a look at is this one against Fnatic on Inferno. I don't know if you can see it right now on your screen.
All good. I can see everything.
There we go. So we can go ahead.
Big screen. I see everything. Yes.
Perfect. So it's basically the first game. The first map against Fnatic in a best of 3 series that you ended up winning after making a very insane comeback on Mirage. Let's not spoil this game just yet for the viewers. But you're playing Inferno and you're going up against Fnatic. Initially, what are your thoughts in this round? Because I'm seeing a lot of grenades right here. So I don't know if you remember it. It's a game that is roughly a week and a half old. What are we about to see?
I think it's just, what are we about to see? I think we're just controlling to the B exec, something like that. I think it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Just JW went in no fucks given mode. Just went in and I was like, oh well, here he is. But yeah, I think it's something that is getting more and more standard for the TP rounds, to play more and more with utility.
Okay.
And just being able to play with that a bit more, because the CTs, there has been a time where the meta was a bit more like double nades when people were executing and all of that. And so you can bait utility in order to take bomb sites and then play around with it. So that's why we try to experience with a bit more utility. And I mean, so far it's been okay. Like the main point right now in our game, the biggest leak that we have are the anti-ecos.
Okay.
That's by far the most problematic that we have because it really breaks our dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we're trying to improve a lot on.
Okay.
And pistol rounds, it's just to me they're still fairly like quite random in a way.
Sure.
That is still aim based and sometimes you win it, sometimes you don't. With the economy right now, it's a bit like it's much less important to win a pistol round before.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure. It's very interesting, right? Because I remember when I was playing 3 years ago, it was very rare that you saw 2 or 3 players buying nades, right? It was almost like 10 players just buying armor.
Kept out of the way.
Yeah,
it just shoot each other's face.
Exactly, it's just like a deathmatch round. So it's very cool and interesting to hear that the whole perception about a pistol round has changed, and as you said, less important nowadays with the new economy.
Yeah, I mean, forced buying becomes very, very easy. Just like here, we plant the bomb. Yeah, well, yep, we can buy. We have SMGs. What are you gonna do? Like they have, like almost no utility on their side. Like we have equivalent utility, even though we lost a round. So it's like,
is that a buy you'd go for, like any given day?
I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it. We have 2 Galil's, 3 SMGs, especially a map like Inferno. It's like SMGs can very easily be used for that, and like JW does something I don't understand again. Like he's just walking in second mid for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, he surprises us, sure, but like we're even lining up here.
Yeah.
Like Isa is fighting, we don't even see it, but yeah, like it's so strong basically that sure, let's do it. Let's do it. And so the point is just to just run as a pack, and here what we got muddied, but like it's just a matter of.
I was unlucky as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me it doesn't really matter because he has all his attention on me, and then what he has that, then there's an easy revenge frag, then they kill the second guy, and it's like 3-2 here, like the round should be ours no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about being a selfless player and an entry fragger is that you don't have to be result oriented necessarily. Like if you die, you can die and make the round and like win the round for your team.
Sure.
And so that's why you have to be pretty intelligent as an entry fragger and realize when you're doing the right things and wrong things. Definitely. So it happens very often that I'm like 0 and 8 in a game, and I'm like, whatever. Like I don't care. I did my role perfectly. I have nothing to like, no shame in anything. It's just I died. Whatever. It's the way it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's kind of fun you mentioned it out because I remember I was casting this game on Danish television, and I was questioning JW as well. The first 2 rounds, you know, we know he's a very aggressive player, and I know he likes to be aggressive, but that second round mid push right there didn't make any sense at all.
No, the pistol, I understand it. It's like like fair play. The second round was a bit more questionable because he has no flash, no one to support him really, no flash assist, whatever. It was a bit weird.
You said it yourself. You're struggling a little bit in anti-ecos. Can you try to put some words on while we watch the one play out? Like, what is it that makes you guys struggle? Is it communication? Is it you guys not aligning each other? Is it miscommunication?
Yep.
What is it that is missing?
Yeah, I think it's a bit a difference of view and how we approach anti-ecos and not being on the same page necessarily with that. And being and taking duels for nothing sometimes.
Okay.
I think we might lose this one again because from what I remember, I think we lose this round because JW at the end of the round comes with the R8 and then kills us. But it's just like they still have 3 smokes with 50 seconds left, so like our 2 smokes actually. Like our balance might not be the best in terms of utility usage, what we want to do exactly in the round, and that kind of stuff. So it's just something we have to really review and agree to be on the same page.
Okay.
Because right now, for example, like Alexi is like alone rushing city spawn and nobody else is behind him.
Sure.
Okay, so actually we're winning this round, but
there'll be a round
like,
where JW comes with an eye.
Exactly. So it's like. Here went okay, like we went as a pack, and then we had the revenge strike. But even then, it could have gone south because if Alexi dies here, then we're so far behind and not in that anything could have happened. So
exactly, and I think that's a very important point to raise for the viewer as well. Just because you're winning a round doesn't necessarily mean that you did the right thing, right? You could still make mistakes and still stuff you could fine tune. I think that's it's part of like the whole there's a face it culture, you know, that as long as you get the kill, you did the right thing, and that's not always the truth in professional Counter-Strike. You want to optimize, you want to make sure that you don't give the opponents any chance of exploiting any weaknesses or any mistakes.
Sure, yeah. Like it's important to differentiate between also practice and official games. Where in official games you'll take those bad rounds any day of the week.
Sure.
Where even if you win a round for a wrong reason, then you'll take it. But then in review and like in practice, those rounds you need to be able to point them out and to be like, yeah, it's not gonna happen twice the same way. That you're gonna lose the round, your money is gonna be broken, and then you lose the map basically. So it's important to find a balance.
How good are you guys at sitting down after a game, after you play an official match? Let's say you're losing this game and you're sitting down and watching it. Are you good at taking in criticism, or is that some area you also need to still work on?
No, I think in general, as I said before, everyone is very open and very eager to learn on a lot of things. What we have to learn is allocating the right time to do it.
Okay.
It was a bit hard, for example, at EPL because we played with practice and official games combined, we played 18 days in a row, where for 18 days straight we either practiced or prepared games and then played the game behind. And on top of that, for Raga, our coach, and Alexi preparing those games, those 10 games. So it's been very hectic, and so you don't really have too much time to like adapt going from one game to another and to fix mistakes. But you just naturally do it, if you will. Like for example, at Blast, I played a very bad first or two first set of best of threes. Individually, and I knew by myself without even reviewing or anything that I just played like shit because I was just overdoing some things, pushing to like being too aggressive and all of that. And so it's something that you have to do naturally on your own to understand and realize and being better.
Sure. And I guess some players are naturally better at being self-critical and understanding, mistakes and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, 100%. And that's also why I'm here in a way. Like sometimes players are having a bad game, but like, yeah, dude, you did everything correctly. Like sometimes you can't shoot, sometimes you just get destroyed. It's, there's nothing you can do, right? And being able to know that balance and being aware of it and communicating to your teammates is also very important. Like, it's fine, we're doing the right things, we're losing rounds, sure, but let's keep going. There's like they play good as well, right? So we just have to be slightly better.
I think this is the round we're gonna take a deeper look on, because I believe this is the one where JW is gonna make your life a little bit miserable.
I'm not sure, because JW had a R8 when he retook from pool and killed us.
I'm pretty sure P250 actually.
Was it P250? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Not sure. Anyway, we'll see at it. It's just a default round for you guys. Looking at the minimap, you're spreading out. I guess that's just a default for you guys to make sure that nobody pushes second middle, nobody pushes apartments, and you still have control over the map, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just 3-on-1, 3 banana, taking control with everything and making sure we're not getting pushed second mid. Just being pretty passive overall, and the point is here they still have 5 smokes, so now the critical thing is how do we get rid of their smokes as fast as possible?
Sure.
Because we don't want them to. So here for example, we smoked coils on B, but there is no reaction. JW is only throwing the first smoke here, and even then he's an A player, so they still have 2 smokes with a minute left on the clock. So for them, it gives them a lot of time to do whatever they want, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so we're not making them use enough utility, and that can become very, very harmful.
But is that a direct consequence of the fact that UN is played so defensively towards second middle, right? Because if you put on more pressure, then JW probably wouldn't have been able to go all the way back to B and throw that smoke. Is that a mistake, or is that just a natural consequence and them playing well and reading the situation well? Because I think there's always two sides of a story in that sense, that you can do the right thing, but if the opponent is reacting well, then what can you really do about it?
I think it's a two-way street, because if you play too aggressive while only being 2, then you can very easily die, and then give a good situation to the opposing team.
But that's kind of what you're doing right here, right? You're clearing the apartments by yourself, and you're trying to show that the presence of your team, right?
Yeah, trying to show presence, but the problem is we're already far too late in when we did it. So like we should have done that at 120 maybe. Yeah. And just make sure that there's no one close opponent. So now there's like 35 seconds on the clock, and they just used the last 2 smokes. So we basically have 15 seconds to come into one side, and if they make the right gamble, then we lose the game, or like we lose the round pretty much. Yeah. So luckily we go on the side where they're only 2, so that's okay. But like even then, like they have a smoke, we have to cross one, and it's really chaotic.
If we just start right here. Yeah. If we just right here, Isa gets a kill towards middle, but as you're saying, like you're under a lot of pressure right now towards this B bomb side, and the viewer at home may think to himself, 15 seconds, that's more than enough to plant the bomb, more than enough to take positions. But when you're constantly being pressured by your opponents, I think you'd agree with me that 15 seconds is not a long time in Counter-Strike.
Sure, I mean, especially that position, it's like Mantu has to plant the bomb, so he's not going to be able to shoot them back. And then it's going to be just Valde having to defend coils and JW. So yeah, JW just goes through and kills two because Valde is fighting with someone that is coils. And then because we're so slow in several parts of the map and putting pressure on them, then yeah, it made our life really hard. And like, we had to commit, and they had enough to counter us to a degree and to get the skills. And then with 15 seconds left, we're in a very dire situation. And now it also puts them in a confident situation.
Sure.
It gives them a round that can like change, like they can turn everything around. And so it's very basic, because in reality, when you lose those rounds, it's not like you lose or win only one rounds, but two, because now it's 4-2 instead of being 5-1. And so it's a difference of 2 rounds. And so it's really, really bad to lose the double rounds.
Definitely. And also at the point of the game, right, in a 5-1 start, as you're saying, that's a pretty dominant beginning to a game against a team like Fnatic.
Sure, and especially also there's something that is hard to realize, but you lose dynamic, where you can give the keys to the game back to your opponent for them to start being more aggressive and for them to establish a game plan that they can finally follow with confidence and then outplay you.
Okay.
And so you don't want, once you have your own game plan, that you're controlling the whole game, that you know which areas you can pressure and all of that, you don't want to let a chance, or to give a chance to the opponent to get back into the game in that way.
Okay.
And get back into their plan. So especially for us as an international team, we want to have confidence in all the players and all of that. So you want to have all the players in the same direction, headshotting hard and not second guessing themselves because we just lost an eco. And especially a team against Fnatic, I feel like if you really counter them hard and you don't let them breathe into a game, you can really control the pace of the game and force them to play into your hand pretty much.
Yeah.
And so that's why against a team like them especially, you don't want to give them an opening. Yeah, here, no bullets. A bit unfortunate. And I think we lose the round after that.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
It's a bit unlucky.
Yeah, so it's like that eco, like now Fnatic won the round, now they have the whole dynamic into the hand. They can do whatever they want now, especially double up and all of that. And so just through that eco, maybe we would not have lost that 4-2 round, and then maybe we go in 8-1 or something.
Yeah, and at what point do you, in the game, you know, I guess you're well aware of it already, right? But at what point do you think like that in the game? Like, are you sitting right now 4-3? Are you personally thinking, oh Jesus, that eco round, we should have won that, we shouldn't let that go? Or is that something you just blow out, you know, and still try to focus on the game?
No, I think while you're in a game, you never really think about it.
Okay.
Because you always want to be forward thinking and not stay into the rounds that you lost, because no matter what, you cannot go back in time, right?
Sure.
You can go back and then, oh shit, like you can do it in post-game analysis, like, yeah, if we win this anti-eco, we win the game. Sure, well, next time, let's not lose the anti-eco by having worked on it, right?
Yeah.
And there's anything you can do. While you're in a game, is just like moving forward, really, and trying to just take control back of the game by outplaying them. There is like a phase where, like the first phase of the game, for example, was just we have the game in control. Like we win the second round and we have the game in control. And the phase where they won the eco, now it's another phase where they're in control. So we're more passive. We have to take the punch pretty much.
Sure.
Being able to absorb it and then fight back. And at some point in the game, we have to start fighting back and win that one round that is going to shift the thing around. And very often that's why you see in games like blocks of rounds that are being won by the different teams, and it really matters.
I think it's a very interesting topic. You know, you talk a lot about the dynamic change of a game. You talk a lot about, you know, the fact that you're giving back the keys to the opponents. I think that's something we don't talk enough about, especially me coming from where I'm from as an analyst. Because you're definitely right. It's you don't want to give the opponents that confidence. You want to give them the belief that, all right, now we're back with a full buy, we got all the grenades, and we can play our game all of a sudden again. It's I think Counter-Strike is much more psychological than people maybe will admit it is. And I think you're spot on when you're saying that the dynamic of the game is very important. Talking about dynamic, we just saw you guys take a timeout. Is timeout something you guys use in order to change that dynamic, or is it more like adjusting certain tactical aspects, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, I think right now we're pretty bad at using timeouts, to be honest.
Okay.
There are often games where we don't use any timeout, and it's like a 14-14 game, and we use like one at like 14-13 or something like that.
Okay.
So I think overall we're pretty bad at using them.
Okay.
But yeah, the matter is, what's important for us is to be able to, when we lose several runs in a row, whether it is a dumb way or not, is just to be able to take the timeouts to like refocus and give again a direction, like a very clear direction of what we're going to do, and have everyone believe in it 100% and then move forward with it. Okay. And simply execute it, making sure that we're doing a strat properly or whatnot. And so that's the main reason why we're taking timeouts at this point. And I think that's the main part for us. Tactically, there are a lot of ideas no matter what, every single time. So we generally don't discuss for ideas when we're having timeouts, but just discuss doing things properly.
Okay.
And being in the right direction in everything that we do. Okay. That's the main thing for us. There was
sense.
a time, because there was a time, for example, and maybe it's something that we're going to do at some point, but it was Fnatic when they were like in 2015, 2016, something like that. Every single time they were taking timeouts, they were just not talking. It was 1 minute timeouts back in the days, and for like 45 seconds, everyone was silent. And it was not a sign of people are scared or people are not talkative or whatever it is. It was just a matter of take a breather, stay calm, we're still in the game, there's nothing wrong, we're doing the things properly, or even if you don't do it properly, it's like, it's a reset button pretty much. Yeah. And then you hit that reset button and you're like, okay, we're back in control of ourselves, of the game. And I don't know for whatever reason they did it, you know, maybe they thought about this more or not. But in terms of psychology, it makes sense because it's a moment where you're like, instead of like really focusing on what's happening in the moment, you just like breathe, cool down, everything is fine, and you just take control of yourself, your emotions, and you as a whole. And if everyone has control of themselves, then the team has control, and then you can easily move again forward doing whatever you want.
Sure. This game we're watching right now, Fnatic against you guys, have you done any like feedback on it? Have you been sitting down and watching this game together as a team?
I don't think so. I don't remember. Again, because it was like in such a packed schedule.
Sure.
We don't do a ton of demo reviews together. Okay. We just improve bits by bits of our game.
Sure.
Every single day. Like we have 1 hour and a half of team talk.
Okay.
Every day almost, where we're just like fixing bits of the game and then moving forward with it.
At this point, it's very fun that you brought it up that early, right? You were up 4-1, you lose that annoying anti-eco, and all of a sudden you're down 6-4. We often talk about Inferno being one of those 50-50 maps, you know, that it's hard to say whether it's a T-sided map or a CT-sided map. You playing for OG, where do you feel you're most comfortable? Is that on the CT side or is that on the T side? Where are you guys racking up the most rounds?
Wow. I almost want to say it depends on the day. Okay. because of our lack of stability as a team yet, you know, of making things properly as a group and like the routine constantly. Because we have players in the team that don't really like constant routines and like to change it up because they don't feel comfortable or whatever. Okay. So it's hard to like find the exact thing constantly, right? And so I think Alexi is much more comfortable giving a direction on the T side. Okay. That really helps us as a group. But we're getting more constant on city side despite a bit less direction of Alexi.
Okay.
We still start to find those things that we're constantly doing that put us in a really good position. And so yeah, in terms of round balance, I think it's a 50-50. I think we're capable of a lot of things. We just need to, again, practice more, be more, okay. And then we just need to do it more constantly. And like again, like all those bits that we're adding in the game every single time, they really add up. Because every time we improve, like I don't know, 2%, of our global level. It's 2% plus 2% plus 2%, and every time we add that, then our whole game makes sense more and more and more. And so that's really what's important for us. It's like we're grinding it. There's some things that we changed that made the team better as a group, but there's also a lot of grinding things bit by bit in this team.
It's constant fine tuning basically of getting better. Yeah, it's tough. At this point, you lost 6 rounds in a row. I don't know if you remember it clear, but is there any point in this game where you're like, now you have to change something fundamentally, right? You tried the same. We've been seeing you smoking top banana for 4 rounds in a row. You've been trying to take banana control. Hasn't worked out for you guys. Is there at any point someone on the team, or Alexi B for that matter, saying that now we have to change the pace. Now we have to do something differently. Do you remember any specifics?
Yeah, not in that game, because I feel like so far we have done okay in a sense that we had a lot of bomb planning situations that we lost.
Okay.
So there was JW, there was like in that 4-on-4 when I jumped in front of him and I had no bullets. So that there was that round. Then there was the eco run where Mantu was in 1 and 2. There was a 2-on-2 that we just saw before that we lost.
Yeah.
So should have won that. So it's like all those situations are at our advantage, and so it's all a matter of winning the situations to actually win the game, right? So I think fundamentally we didn't do a ton of mistakes. Like even that run, like we were retaking it, like it's okay. But it's funny because it's something that like a philosophy that I brought in Vitaly at the very beginning of our team. To me, it was like win the situations we're supposed to win most of the time. So transform those bomb planet situations into situations that we're gonna win 80% of the time, and be coherent in everything that we do. And so far, where we have troubles bomb planet situations, and winning those situations where we're supposed to win no matter what. And so again, like it's one of our leak in our games that is fairly easily fixable, that we have to do in order to become much more consistent into our approach, like anti-ecos and that. So so again, those are just like tuning our game style, tuning our things a little bit more and more, because ultimately we're not playing bad Counter-Strike. It's just a matter of, oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Kills together is not defusing.
Exactly. It's like we're seeing 3 rounds in a row now where you probably could have won it.
So like ultimately, like we're playing okay Counter-Strike. We're not doing the absolute best thing.
No.
But we're playing okay Counter-Strike. So sure, we can be better in the sense of having better rounds, but we're still supposed to win some of those rounds and have some more on the board. So there's nothing much you can say but be like, oh well, we gotta win the next one, and that's it. It doesn't really go much farther than that, to be honest. And we just have to grind it. And next game, we just don't do those mistakes.
Sure. I think it's very interesting, right? Because you're giving us a lot of bullet punch when you look towards OG. It's being better against the anti-eco. It's winning some of the close situations, I guess. You need a so-called Harvey Specter in your lineup that is going to close the case, going to win you the rounds that you're not supposed to win. But as you're saying, you're down 8-4 against Fnatic. You're up 4-1. We've seen 3 or 4 rounds where you were supposed to win, or you at least had a 50-50 chance of winning. So at some point, you got to expect that those rounds are going your way. How far do you think right now you are from being that team? Like, is it just a matter of a few weeks, months of practice, and then you'll be at the point where you're starting to win those 50-50 duels, and by then, instead of losing a game 16-13, you're winning 16-13? Are we far away from seeing the OG that is going to be not necessarily a world beater, but an OG that is going to be able to win against some of the best teams in the world?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we're pretty close to it. I think we proved it with EPL. What I'm looking forward to is the LAN situation, because communication is obviously much harder on LAN because there's a lot of things, right? And so because of that, I'm looking forward to what we can do it online, because we can do it online in a comfortable environment. So that's great. We need to do it in high pressure situations when communication is chaotic.
Sure.
So first, I'm looking forward to this. And then when it comes down to like anti-eco, I've actually watched a team that is very good, in my opinion, on this is G2.
Yeah.
And I really thought a bit about how to approach anti-ecos and how to not lose them. And I think we came up with some pretty good conclusions. I shared them with Alexi, and we're gonna approach it differently now in the upcoming games. And I'm 100% sure that this can be fixed from one day to another. Really, I think it's a very easy fix.
That's super cool. That's something we can look out for, basically. That if we watch you guys play the next time around, it's going to be a different outlook in the anti-ecos, yeah.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, we don't want to do the same mistakes again. of losing the intakers and putting us in a pretty bad situation. So obviously those are things that we need to work on, and again, I think it's a very easy fix, to be fair. It's just a matter of being in the same direction again, and like approaching the rounds the same way. If we lose this run again, I'm probably gonna kill myself because it's a 2-on-1 bomb planet. There's no way we can lose this run, right?
Pretty sure you got it.
Yeah, luckily, yeah, we got it. Nice. But so yeah, and for the bomb planet situation, I think it's a bit more complex because there are so many different situations in Counter-Strike, especially a bomb planet, that it's more of each player having a good philosophy on how to approach those rounds, and having natural team play coming together.
Yeah.
More than going on the server and be like, you go here, you go here, you go here, and then we win the rounds all over the time, right? There is a small part of it, but for the most part, it's really basic team play, understanding one another, and doing things properly. And I think that's pretty much it for that. So those two things are approached differently in terms of problem solving.
Sure. Now we've been watching this first half, and every time you're playing, or every time you're playing against a low buy on anti-eco, you seem to be opting to go the 3-1-1 route. We haven't really discussed that a lot, but OG as a team right now, like you have a lot of stuff to work on. You have a lot of areas to get better at communication, anti-ecos, you name it. How important is it for a professional Counter-Strike team today not to be too easy to read? Because I feel like that's probably an area you can look at if you want to, but would you agree with the sentiment that it's too early to think in that route? You need to fix the basics and then you can go into the deep stuff afterwards.
Yeah, I think the basics we're getting there in terms of ourselves being comfortable with ourselves and how we play and how we approach and one another. So I think that's a good part for us. It took some time, but at least I think we're getting there.
Sure.
And now in terms of readability, I think Alexi is very, very good at this. At just adapting some things in the strat, either on the fly or either as a team, like talking together and all of that. And like really fixing. Oh yeah, not lucky at all.
Oh, it works,
And then that's Ranger W. Magnificent, alright. And then so constantly adapting and getting better and better at those things. I think Alexi is very good at this, and so that's why I'm not really scared of being too readable, because also on the CT side I'm also trying to balance my plays a lot. Which helps for us not to be that readable.
Yeah.
And I think those two components together are making us, I think, not super easy to read. But what's hard to suppress is generally individual routine, because some players don't see the game that way, right? They're going to do the same things over and over again. They don't have really any thoughts. They're just like, oh, I'm going to play Counter-Strike. I have to hold this position. I'm going to do it the same way I've been doing it for the past 2 years.
Sure.
And ultimately, it's not the best way to make it, right? And I think this is where a lot of leaks come from, just individuals, because Counter-Strike is a young esport, and there's no search of like perfection and efficiency in many ways, and not everyone is on the same page about high-level sports and balancing your play when there's competition and stuff like that. And so I think where you can exploit a lot of things. When it comes into the team game, I think the way we're approaching the game is hard for us to be very, very easily readable.
Well,
especially when we're going to be set up.
That must be a nice feeling, that's not an area you have to put too much focus into. Looking at the scoreline, how first half planned out, you're down 9-6 on a map like Inferno.
Yeah.
Considering how many close rounds you had, considering how many of those rounds you probably should have or could have won, are you feeling, are you sitting back with a feeling where you're somewhat comfortable? Like you still believe that this is a game that we are definitely in and we can definitely still win it?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people would probably say, oh, you're frustrated after the first half because you should have been up 9-6 instead of down 9-6. But if anything, for us in the game at the moment, it's like we should have won it anyway. So we're going to destroy them on the city side, whatever. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it, to be fair. That's anything we're thinking about. It's like, yeah, we could have won more rounds. We're good on the city side. Let's just do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's it for us. We come in with a lot of confidence into the second half, and we know that you win the pistol, you get the economy, you get them to play into your hands, and let's do it. Let's just shut them down.
Yeah. You have, now that we're watching Inferno, you played a lot of different positions on this map throughout your career.
Yeah, everything.
Everything basically. Yeah. It seems you'd be the short guy now, or whatever you call it in English. How comfortable are you playing that position? Because I remember you being a pretty solid B player at a certain point. I remember you being a pit player as well at a certain point.
Yeah,
how comfortable are you playing short?
I quite like it in the sense that, again, I have input on how we approach the game, right? So like I'm responsible of what we're gonna do as a whole on the A bomb side.
Okay.
And so I can kind of direct how we are playing in that sense on this bomb side. And so I'm creating the space for my teammates to shine pretty much. Like I want to use the utility and myself as a bait for utility for the opponents, and for them to come on the bomb side with no utility anymore. Or to get the entry frags to put the T's in a bad situation. Like for example here, I'm just playing aggressive with the MP9 behind the smokes, and everybody can rotate towards B. It doesn't matter, I have the whole info. And now for the whole round, I'm going to have information down mid by just being aggressive.
Sure. And
then there are two on the B bomb side. E side is going to rotate because I have full info and they have time to rotate. I still have a Molotov as well. And so, see, like I'm not getting any kill. I didn't do anything fancy, but just through communication, information gathering. Like on B, for example, they're playing it very poorly. I really don't like how they're playing it.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna work out more or less. Like they're 3 on the bomb side and they're playing retake. I think it's pretty bad.
Sure. Yeah.
But ultimately, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't do anything special. Yet by just being in that position, and somebody else, for example, would have played more passive by being scared. Well, I took advantage of that. Have all information made, and I'm like, don't worry, everyone leave. I got A. They're not coming back.
Sure.
So you can just do whatever you want. So those are like all those things in Counter-Strike are the things that I'm very good at the moment with the experience, and that's how I take advantage of it, and it's the only thing that matters to me really. And like again, like I don't get any kills whatsoever, doesn't matter. I know I made the round win, like we won the round purely because of the fact that I had information, and to me it's everything that matters again.
Sure. It makes sense, and it's I guess we call that the unsung hero, right? It's playing Counter-Strike at a different level, and I guess that's why we all love Counter-Strike for different reasons. But you can really dive deep into to the game, and you can understand the basics, which is, as you said, running around headshotting each other, but also being that team player or be the supportive element, or really deep diving into it. It's fun for me to when you're being so I say polite about it. You used to be a player that has the potential to be one of the best players in the world. What changed in your career? Was it the desire to just win, or did you get bored of being a great player without winning, or was it just I don't know, like you basically becoming more mature, I guess, with age? Was it an active decision that you wanted to be more of a supporter player, or was it just something that happened throughout your career?
It's really hard to say because I feel like I evolved personally a lot throughout my career, and I've never really second guessed it. I just went with it every time, and it was just like at some point I think it worked very well because I especially had that like superstar potential and level to a degree in some teams, going into those roles that in generally were overlooked, and where you had like players that were not necessarily big fraggers or anything, and going there I could overdo what I was supposed to do. And on top of that, I have good communication, and I can really direct the team, and I can take the reins in the team to do several things, more than just fragging.
Yeah.
And so by taking those roles and those positions, I have impact on that level on top of being able of sometimes turning the round around.
Okay.
And so a mix of all of that makes it that I never looked back into am I doing the right thing or not, because I felt like I always had impact, and I was always useful in teams no matter what. And so again, like it's the only thing that matters, and like other players are doing those things very, very well as well, and they are very focused on themselves, killing people and all of that. And to me again, it's the only thing that matters, and finding that balance is very important to me. And like I contribute to the team more that way than I would be if I were playing, I don't know, any other position really, I guess. But that's where I find the most impact, I think, in the rosters.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And as you said, you have to be very selfless to take such a position. Can imagine it's tough for a lot of players out there. You talked a lot about it. You like to be, I guess you like to be in charge, right? You like to have impact at least. Let's put it that way. How hard is it for you to be in a position now where it's not you calling the shots, right? It is Alexi who's the dedicated in-game leader. Are you okay with being that second guy or that third guy, or is it, you know, sometimes you're still thinking, I wish I could, you know, be more influential, or I wish I could be calling the shots here and there? Because I could imagine, you know, for without putting it on you, you sound a bit like a, wouldn't necessarily say a control freak, but you like to be in control over the outcome of what's going on the map, which is, you know, most of the time a good thing. How big of a task is it for you to sometimes take a step back and let Alexi B do what he's supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's been balanced to the fact that I changed position to have more control individually on the game itself, so like I can focus more on myself. It's sometimes frustrating within the game itself because I have a very good feeling that they're going to do this or that, and I can't really impact it directly because even if I suggest something, you know, it's very easy to just, I mean, it's very easy. It's like normal to being shut down and be like, no, I want to do this because of that. And so and then the run happens, and then my call would have been good, and you know, whatever. And I'm like, it's a bit frustrating at times, but ultimately, I have full trust in whatever's happening.
Sure.
And the calls of Alexi and the direction we're taking and all of that. And if anything, I try to have impact outside of the game, in the general direction of the roster, or using the experience of the things we're creating, the way we're approaching the game, and helping other players when needed. And I try to have impact that way more than in the game itself. I have impact individually by the things that I'm doing, or I'm trying to as much as possible. But not calling ultimately is like, it's kind of whatever.
Okay.
It's just at this point in the team, I even talking probably the least in term of calling, except on the city side, on my bomb side, where I'm controlling who is with me. But on the T side, especially, I don't have a ton of impact. It's more like Valde or Issa that have more control, and I'm just like killing people because it's harder for me as an entry fragger to know exactly on the T side what's happening every time constantly, because I die, it's like whatever. But having like knowing exactly what we lose round is going to be harder than if I'm lurking constantly on the map or something like this, and being able to exploit the opening.
That makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And I can only imagine, you know, it's as you said, it is a complex world to be part of, you know, going from being the in-game leader to not being the in-game leader to be, you know, a guy that is in-game leading a little bit in Vitality, I believe. So it's you've been all over the place, and that's why I find you super interesting, because you are one of the guys, when you look towards the Counter-Strike scene, who probably have tried the most, right? You even at some point, I believe, not sure in CSGO, but you have been the primary all-pass world at certain points in your career.
The beginning of Source, the beginning of my career, I was the superstar upper.
Exactly.
And a year and a half after, I was like, yeah, fuck it. I just want to take a rifle and lurk, which is a bit weird thinking back to it, but it's like, it worked out.
It worked out pretty fine, yeah. It's very interesting. At this point, you're down 12-9 against Fnatic right now, and I think you are lucky to get this kill. There we go, and you're making it 12-10. How confident are you? You know, score is about to be, if I'm not mistaken, at 12-10. How confident are you that you're going to win this game?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't lose any anti-echo, we have still a good chance.
Yeah. Well.
I think that's a big part. Where, I mean, now we're starting back to being in control. We don't have the best economy, but we know we start being in control, and we can just string rounds together. And especially, I don't know if Fnatic is the best team to grind games out. I think they're pretty good in the sense that their gameplay is fairly chaotic.
Okay.
And so they can do a lot of things, right, in the game itself.
Sure.
And so they can always create one run or another bad player popping off or anything that's happening.
Yeah.
So if anything, we have to stay really focused in everything we do and not like overextend and really overdo it, because there are teams where you can really fully take control of the game and outplay them without them knowing it. And there are some teams where you just have to do the same things over and over again, and they're not necessarily going to adapt, and they're going to keep on going crazy on their own. And so we really want to just keep on playing the same and not overdo it against Fnatic, because we want to let them come to us more than anything. And I think that's pretty much what we're trying to do. And then it's just a matter of being on point and not losing a round that we shouldn't lose or anything like this. But I mean, so far we're in control of the game pretty well. And here it's very important. I think I'm getting a Krieg. Very important.
Very important. It used to be.
Yeah, like I went all the way to just get one Krieg.
How? I mean,
yeah.
if I have to be a little bit critical of this round, for example, you're in a 1v4 against Scrims, and you end up dying 2 guys. So as you said before, you look at your economy right now on the right side of your screen. It's not good. That hurts your economy a lot.
Sure.
Some of those, small details. Is that something you're focusing on, or is that, does that more come down to the individual players and their understanding of how important the economy is? Is that something you can attach to the team, that you have a problem staying alive or winning the round convincingly enough, or is it more like it happens once in a while and it's okay?
Yeah, it definitely does happen once in a while. It's okay-ish. I hate it personally because to me it's such a stupid thing to lose that much money for no reason in 1v4.
You seem like a perfectionist to me, right? You want everything to be as perfect as absolutely possible.
Especially if it's very simple things as to don't press W. Like it's just like you just have to do one thing, which is nothing, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like stop doing the kind of mistakes. But yeah, like we have some stubborn players. It plays into their qualities and also weaknesses to a degree. But it's not impactful to a point where it directly makes us lose games. So we want to really focus on the things that are very bad to us, that really make us lose rounds directly.
Sure. And
then we can focus a bit more on like the a bit more specifics, economy type of stuff. And that's where I was not expecting that, because Mantu already went into ruins and he didn't die, so I was like, oh cool. Yeah. Everything's fine. But no, he came after. So yeah, like those things are really what matters at the moment. And those small things are going to be fixed at some point in time, but right now it's really fixing the bulk of it, like the 80% of our game that is very important, that we need to get right, and then the last 20% are going to be like small things that are just going to get better and better.
Sure.
Because if you want to fix like all those things and like put the highlight on that, and 12-12, we're going to lose 16-12, right? And it's an eco, so we're going to lose the eco.
Yeah, that's the third one, I believe, in this game.
Yeah. So it's like we need to fix those things. Those things directly make us lose games.
Sure.
While losing a weapon or two ultimately didn't make us lose games. We still won the round after that.
Sure.
So yeah, again, like I don't even know. Here's like a communication problem and even understanding problem, because Isa should be in pit, so that we have like crossfires. And now we're like three at the same position. Nobody's fighting. So like those are like communication problems, for example, that we need to get rid of. But again, it's like, to me, it's part of those 20% small things that sure it makes us lose the round here.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's like one small mistake, right? So it's okay.
Yeah.
And once we have that fixed, it's very easy, and then we win, period.
So
again, like anti-eco.
Yeah, anti-eco, it seems to be a problem for you guys. But I guess playing against Fnatic, it is one of the teams out there who are, I guess, one of the toughest teams to play against in anti-ecos, right? The way they play, the way that they're aggressive, the way they like to do individual plays. They cannot be the easiest team out there to win anti-ecos against. That being said, though, it's still, they say, unacceptable that you lose 3 anti-ecos in one game. That's at least too many, right?
three in one game, and like it directly cost us. Now we're like forced buying, we're like no money, and it's a very bad situation for us, and that directly makes us lose games, period. And so those are the things that we need to fix in priority compared to the other things that are a bit more okay, if you want.
Yeah.
So it's important also to manage your time and resources to fix those important things and not smaller things that are less important.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess, as you're saying, it's not that it's a small percentage, right? It's not like you're making fundamental mistakes, or you're doing, your game plan or the way you're playing or setting up the rounds are not working. No. It's the small things, right? We concluded, especially after the first half, that there was a lot of the rounds you could have won, you should have won, you didn't. But the entire lead up to that round, the entire lead up getting into the 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, that was actually working for you guys. So that's again when I look at you guys, that's what gives me confidence that you're trending upwards, sort of, right? Because you can say that a game like this against Fnatic, you end up winning the series 2-1, that's fine, but you probably should have won Inferno. When you look back at this demo, look at the rounds you're losing, 100% you should be able to win Inferno against a Fnatic that didn't necessarily play the best game they can. So I can see where it's coming from, definitely.
Yeah, that's where our confidence can come from fairly easily. It's like we're smart players. We know that if we don't lose those 3 intakers, most likely we win the game, right?
Sure.
And you can say the same for them. Like they're gonna lose some stupid rounds sometimes, or other teams or whatever. I don't think we want an intaker against them, for example. But like,
yeah,
sure, teams make mistake, but like we can only control what we can control. And if other teams make mistake, then we'll take it. And it's the essence, man. It's the essence itself of Counter-Strike. Like the team that makes the least mistakes is gonna win the game, because everyone is gonna make mistakes.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you have to be accepting of that, and just control what you can control. And here we could have controlled being better in those anti-echoes, and we just didn't.
How frustrating is it to lose a game like this? Like, because you must be thinking back after the first game that, Jesus, 3 anti-echoes, right? Just win one of those, maybe 2 of those, and it goes our way. How frustrating is it, and how hard is it as a player to leave that behind, sort of, because you still have 2 more maps to play?
Sure. In the moment it's fine, because especially in those tournaments you have like 10-15 minutes to really take a breather and come back and be back into the game 100%. So it's okay. You have time to do that. But yeah, what helps is really time, really. Like just taking some time to get your mind off of it, and then come back like, yeah, it's another map. It's just 2 best of 1s you have to win in a row, and everybody has done that already.
Yeah.
Regardless of the teams that you're playing against. And it's the only thing. Just move on. Like, we need to be a team of men, if you want. Like, not a team of guys that are like just torturing themselves. Like, oh no, we lost the first map. The best of 3 is over. You know, like that's never a mentality that's gonna make you win. So we want to be a team of people that are strong mentally, and that has that winning mentality of like fuck it attitude.
Sure.
There's just, we lost the map, yeah, whatever. Next map.
Sure.
We're not out of, like, we didn't lose yet.
How strong are you? How strong are you mentally? Like, how strong is OG as of right now, mentally speaking? Is that another area you can work on, or are you okay?
Sure. It's an area we can definitely work on. I think we're very okay in terms of... It's a bit weird. When we're back against the wall, we're very strong mentally and very resilient. Okay. And I think that has been shown in several games that we played, whether they were close, whether we won them or lose them. What's an area that we can work on is like, especially when we've been losing those anti-ecos constantly, right? Like whether it happens in practice, it happens in official games. Like it constantly happens, right?
Okay.
And being able to bounce back in the important games when you know you fucked up and you're lost against pistols again when you're fully equipped, then it can really get to you to a degree. And so it's hard for especially a young team to like get back into the mentality and grind the next 5 rounds that are like directly ahead of you.
Sure.
And sometimes it takes those 5-6 rounds to really get back into it. And I think that's where we have some improvement to be made.
Okay.
It's a bit better than the very beginning of the team, but we're still not there yet.
Okay.
And I think it's also gonna come when we're more confident into the fact that we're gonna win more anti-ecos than losing them. And being more confident that when we lost them, then either they did something amazing, either we completely fucked it up, and we're like, this is not us anyway. We just move forward, and we are the team that we're supposed to be.
It seems like we're constantly coming back to the whole anti-eco.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, because it's a lot of things that like it's been hurting us a lot, and so it's a lot of things that we've been thinking about, and and we know those are rounds. You know, it's like you're super excited, like, yes, we won the pistol, or yes, we finally broke their economy. Oh no, we lost our round. We have to build everything and like to construct everything again, right? And so it's hard to like being in that situation where you have high hopes and then you get broken again. And like once we're gonna be more confident into all those situations, rounds that we're supposed to win and actually winning them consistently, then we're gonna be a very, very, very strong team mentally, because we have proven that we are never giving up in any given game. Whether we've done a map, up a map, we're not giving up. Okay. And so that's why we're very resilient in that sense. But in terms of like nearsighted future in the game itself, it very often happens that it takes us like 5 rounds to get back into a real 100% perfect mentality.
All right.
In the game.
All right. Let's hope you guys get the anti-ecos under control, so we can see some more OG play from you guys. To round it all off with, I'm gonna take some questions from the chat. So there's a lot of guys out there asking you some specific questions, and I think we're starting out with Lake15. Yeah, we're gonna fire it off, man. He's asking, what would you say Rocker have brought to the table as a coach?
if Issa was in my chair right now, he would say nothing. I think he's very helpful in the sense that he is a. Wait, let me try to find the right word.
Okay.
He's a very approachable person and a very likable person, so you can very easily speak with him. He can easily speak with everybody, and because of the fact that he's a father, that he was a teacher, he also knows and can easily take time and not get pissed, not take sides, and just being very, I don't know the word in English, but he can really be how can I say that? Take steps with people and always try his hardest to never frustrate anyone and being able to like give the ideas properly to each and every person. And so that means managing the personalities you have in the team and making sure that everyone is like fine with one another. And he's also been extremely helpful with Alexi, as far as I know, in terms of preparation of the games. Fixing those 2% things every time as well that I was talking about earlier. He's also a very big part of that. So his area of work is like very wide, pretty much. But it's not like he has full direction of the project. It's not like he has full direction or judgment on one player or another. He's really here as a glue for the whole roster to work well and like fix the small mistakes constantly. And to help Alexi a lot in terms of preparation and approaching a game. And yeah, I mean, he's been very helpful in many areas, and also he's a person that is very easy to talk to if you have something that is good or bad. He's just a great person, like a great person, I think, in general, and I think that translates directly into how he works as a coach.
Sure, sounds like the worker I know. I have another guy. Yeah, exactly. I have another guy called Subland C, who's asking, how would NBK describe Alexi B as an in-game leader? And I guess to follow up on that question, what is the biggest difference between you as an in-game leader and Alexi B?
I think that the difference is ultimately in order to have good qualities and an in-game leader, I think I'm lacking some things. So first, for me, I think I'm lacking some personality traits that make me not, because I think I can think as an in-game leader and approach the game properly, but in terms of being a proper in-game leader, I think I'm lacking some things. Alexi, I think has a lot of impact on everyone in the team in terms of his mood and the way he's leading as well. I think it impacts everyone greatly, and I think it's a sign of someone that is impactful as an in-game leader, because we are waiting for him to say something in order to do something and to follow what he's trying to say and to make the best out of it. So as an in-game leader, more specifically, he is very complete and very. He has all the good qualities of an in-game leader, right? He's very knowledgeable. He's very complete. He's very adaptive. And he's also open to questions and becoming a better player and a better leader and all of that. So yeah, I mean, I've been very impressed with him since day one. And yeah, I think he has a lot of good qualities. He's very different from an existence, from a Sharks, from a Happy, and I think it's what matters. Like, he has his own identity, trying to do things his way. That gives a lot of responsibilities to players directly in the game. And so yeah, he's very complete as an in-game leader. Like, he's not the best at one thing, the best at another thing. Just like Happy was like the best at exporting himself and making the team work around that. Existence was the best as being a captain. And really endorsing every single thing that happens in the team. Alexi is very adaptive, and he leaves room to other players. He knows when to be very strict with what he's doing. He's adapting well and all of that. So to me, those are the things that make him very competent as an in-game leader.
Okay. It sounds like he is the real deal, and I guess the way he was performing in Ents and so far with you guys has been overly positive as well. So I'll buy that one from you. Another dude is asking, he's called Dark Hades. How much did the Creek nerf impact OG? And I guess a follow-up to that one, how much how much or how happy are you for the Krieg nerf? And second of all, does it impact you as a player? Or are you okay with going back to the AK and the M4?
Yeah, I love it. To be honest, I was not. So it's a bit awkward. People maybe have a misconception, but I was not the biggest Krieg player. Like,
okay,
I was okay with it. I think it's a very good weapon for entry fraggers.
Sure.
However, I often played with the AK because I just liked it for some reason. It was just like the basis that I always liked.
Sure.
For us as a team, I don't think it's going to really impact us greatly. I think it's going to advantage us more, to be honest.
Okay.
Because we're like, we don't have one very specific big Krieg player in the team. We like the weapon and all of that, but ultimately we love the AK. We love, and like the system that we have as a team of like revenge frag and the whole approach that we have favors us for the cities not to have any Kriegs. And on the city side, we like to play some duels as well. And so you're going to be much less punished M4 against AK than M4 against Krieg. That is going to destroy you. So no, I mean, I'm very happy about the chain. I think it was long overdue.
Okay.
The weapon has been quite. I mean, the weapon is now close to dead, I think. I really see not many people like playing with it anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's good for Counter-Strike because we're getting back to a point where Counter-Strike makes more sense again, like it was always. And sure, I mean, I'm happy about the change, and I think it's going to help us. And I think for G2 as well, for example, it's going to help them. I think international teams are going to be helped because we don't have the depth necessarily of all the other teams, but we have the headshot potential, and so that's going to help us in that department for sure.
All right. You know what? I'm not gonna take much more of your time today. First and foremost, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It's interesting to hear from you. You're very good at explaining what you're thinking, and you're really well rounded in that sense. So I think a lot of people out there learned a lot, myself included. Is there anything you want to say to any potential fans out there, any potential sponsors, anything? The scene is yours, and you can just have a go at it.
Sure. No, I mean, the big thing is I just want to thank everyone that has been following us from day one. We're all very disappointed that you cannot have your Reddit flares, or maybe, I mean, actually it's not done yet. I think we still have a chance to make it to the major, if I'm not mistaken.
You do.
So maybe we got lucky in that whole situation. But yeah, ultimately we have been receiving a ton of support from the very beginning of this roster, and the main thing is, yeah, we're always very thankful. All those messages, everything that is happening, it is something that is important to us. And so yeah, very thankful for everyone that is following us and supporting, and being passionate as well. I think it's important, good or bad, and I think that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna go too long in detail. I think it's the main thing that matters. Yeah, big thanks for the support. We're playing tomorrow again, a qualifier or something. So
yeah.
So we're playing some more, and
you're in a busy schedule, aren't you? Right? You said yourself you had 18 days in a row of playing, and now back to online games, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had those 18 days that were like really, well, they were very beneficial for our team because we improved a ton during those time.
Okay.
But it was also extremely exhausting.
Sure.
And then we had those 18 days, and we had 3 days off.
Okay.
And then we came back on Monday to start practicing again because we have the qualifier on this weekend, and then we're gonna have other tournaments. So. Yeah, it's just
you're on the
it
grind.
just never stops. Yeah, but I mean, it's the way it is. It's the way we like it, right? So we have the chance to make it. Not every team has that chance, so we're gonna take the chance and make the best out of it. It's everything we can do.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, a lot of things, and hopefully we can give good games and qualify and stuff like that.
I wish you guys the best of luck, and once again, thank you so much for coming into the show, and thank you so much for be willing to open so much up about OG. I think a lot of people out there learned a lot, and I think the main thing we can take away from this one is the fact that you guys got to work on your anti-ecos, and as soon as you got that one going, then it'll be a much better looking OG. So thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah. Sure, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. To the rest of you guys out there, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting this show once again for you. I'll be back next Friday. I think that'll be 12 o'clock for the rest of you guys as well, staying up later tonight. I think Launders will have another guest coming into the show tonight. So stay tuned here on Blast TV. Make sure to hit the follow button, hit the alert button, so you always get the notification of when these lovely shows are coming on. It's been a pleasure once again. I will go out in my kitchen, I'll get some food, and I'll get some energy back inside my body, and then I hope you guys had a good time in here. I hope you guys learned a lot. I personally is very impressed by the way NBK is opening up about OG, some of the problems they have within the lineup, some of the stuff they can get better at, and also some of the stuff that they're doing good at right now. So at least I hope you are sitting back with a nice feeling. I do. I'm going to close down the stream for now, and we're going to be back, as said, tonight at 10 o'clock. If not, then next Friday with another Blast Great session. Thank you so much for looking in, boys, and have a good one.